Good morning. Welcome in RN2 NIS classes, chapter number 12, Administration System and Institution. With the establishment of Delhi Sultan, a new ruling class emerged in India. This new class introduced a new administrative service system. Some new institutions were also introduced after the coming of Mughals. Some of these underwent changes, and a few new ones got introduced. A few of the administrative institutions had their roots in Arab and Central Asia, from where the new ruling group came, while some others were to Indian origin. A significant feature of these was that many of these got transformed and in due course of time development as suitable to India context. The new administrative system and institution contributed in the consolidation of the Sultan and Mughal Empire. It would not be possible for us to discuss all aspects of administrative over a period of 500 years in a small lesson. However, we will try to provide the basic features, continuity, and changes in the administrative structure and some important institutions. The ruling class kept changing during this period. These institutions were used by various rulers for their purposes also. The rulers from time to time include people from various social classes in administration apparatus. In order to have a social harmony, it was natural on part of social classes to stake a claim in system of governments, and various rulers readily accommodated them in system in this lesson. This institution also emerged as a tool to contain any kind of social conflict in the society. Though there were various others measures also that were used by the rulers for this purpose. After studying this lesson, you will be able to know about the nature and composition of Sultan and Mughal ruling class, understand the administration structure of Delhi Sultan, recall the main administration department of Delhi Sultan, describe the provincial and local administration under the Sultan, discuss the main feature of the Equal system, analysis to market control policy of Alauddin Khilji, know about the central and provisional administration of the Mughals, discuss main features of Jagir system, trace the evolution of Mansandari system, and understand administrative structure under the Marathas. Evolution of administration structure under Delhi Sultan. When Qutbuddin Aibak established himself as an independent sultan at Lahore, the available administration apparatus was continued in the initial phase. The prevailing supremacy of the sultan in Delhi, they were allowed to collect taxes and send it to the central treasury as a tribute. The central official in these areas were mainly to help help the local rulers in the administration's task with the expansion and consolidation of the Delhi Sultan. New administrative institution also started emerging. The administrative structure and institution introduced in India were influenced by Mughals, uh, Sil, Seljukids, etc. Brought by the new rulers. The existing administrative institution in different parts of the country also contributed in giving shape to help system. The Sultan were aware of the fact that they had to rule over a subject population that was large, non-Islamic. Thus, the Sultan, thus, thus the Sultan of Delhi had to introduce particular measures to set the privileging condition in the Sultan. From the administration point of view, the local level administration, it seemed, was left many in hands of villages, headmen, etc. The large extent of the Sultan necessitated the evolution of administrative structure separately for the center and provinces. Thus, during the Sultan period, administrative institutions emerged at different levels: central, provisional, and local. Administrative system. During the Sultan period, the administrative apparatus was headed by the Sultan, who was helped by various nobles. There were various other official offices along with the office of Sultan. Theoretically, there was a council of minister Majlis Khalwa to assist The Sultan. The Sultan was central figure in administrative setup. He was the head of civil administration and supreme commander commander of the army. He made all the appointments and promotions. He also had the right to remove anybody from the service. He had absolute power in his hand. He was also the head of the judiciary. He used to confer titles and honors upon people. Theoretically, the Sultan and had an exalted position, but but in actual practice, a different Sultan enjoyed varying power. The position of the Sultan was always under pressure from powerful group of nobility and ulema. Sultan of Delhi, particularly the powerful Sultan, adopted various strategies to keep these group uh, under control. Balban kept the nobles firmly under his control. Thus the personality of the Sultan played significant role in administrative structure of the Sultan. Capable under the capable and strong Sultan, the administration and the administrative structure functions well, but under the inefficient and weak ruler, the same was under pressure. Nobility. The nobles were the most important functions of the state and enjoy high social status. In the initial state, they were those commander who came with the victory's army. Over a period of time, their descendants formed the main strength, and some Indian groups also emerged. The position and power of nobility varied from time to time, as has been mentioned above. Nobles, particularly those who were based at Delhi, emerged as a very powerful group and at times even played a role in the section of the Sultan. The nobility was not homogeneous class. There were different groups within nobility, and often there were intergroup clashes and rivalries. The clash between Turkish and Tajik nobles started during the time of Iltutmish and became instant after his death. The group of Changan group of 14 nobles, which was created by Iltutmish, also emerged very powerful. Marwan was the first sultan to bring the nobility formally under his control. Interestingly, he had been a part of Jalangar earlier. Kutubuddin Aibak and Iltutmish had considered and enforced strict code of conduct for himself and for the nobility. No loose talk or laughter was allowed in the court. He also imposed on high blood and made it a criteria for occupy high position and officers. With the expansion of the Delhi Sultan, there were also attempts on the part of different section of the society to join the nobility. Initially, it was the preserve of the Turkish only. During the rule of the Khalji and Tughlaq, the doors of the nobility were Muslim joined the nobility and could rise to high position, especially under Muhammad bin Tughlaq during the Lodi period the Afghan concept of equality become important when the Sultan was considered first among equal. Thus, the uh, thus the nobles enjoyed equal status with the Sultan. Some of the Lodi Sultan, like Sikandar Lodi and Ibrahim Lodi, found this uncomfortable and tried to bring the nobles under their control, and the nobles resisted this, which resulted in this trouble for both sultans. Ulema, the religion in intellectual group of Muslim was collectively referred ulema. People of this group managed religion matters and interpreted religion regulation for sultan. They were also in charge of judiciary matter and work as quatis at various levels. It was quite influence group and commanded respect of sultan and nobility. Sultan to run the as per religion laws of Islam, the Sultan and nobles generally tried to run the administrative affairs as per the need of state rather than religion laws. Sultan like Alauddin Khilji could ignore the options of the ulema on a number of issues, but were but some followed their line. Central administration. As already mentioned, the administration system was headed by Sultan. There were a number of departments which were assigned different responsibility. These departments were managed by influenced nobles. We will provide brief account of a few departments. Wizarat. After Sultan, the most important office was the Diwan-e-Wizarat, headed by the Wazir. It was a key position in the royal court, and his role was of a general superior over all departments. Though he was one of the four important departments of head, he was the chief advisor to Sultan. The main function of the Wazir were to, to look after the financial organization of the state, give advice to the Sultan, and occasions to lead military expeditions at Sultan behest. He also surprised the payment to the army. The Wizarat of the office of Wazir also kept a check on hand revenue collection, maintain a record of all income and expenditure incurred by state, and controlled recorded the salary of all royal servants, handed the charitable donations such as wakis, ilham, etc. Further, the mints, the intelligence department, the royal buildings, and other bodies affected to the royal court were supervised by the Wizarat. The Wazir had direct access to the Sultan, and it was on his supervised the Wizarat. The Wazir had direct access to the Sultan, and it was on his wisdom, sincerely, and loyalty that the position of the Sultan depended greatly. There were several other departments which worked under the Wizarat. They were entered with specific functions. These include Mustafi-e-Mubalik, Auditor General, Muzafi-e-Mutabalik, Account General, Majamdar, Keeper of Loans and Balances from Treasury. Later some other office were brought under the supervision of the Wizarat like Diwani Waqoof to supervise to expenditure Diwani Mustab to look into the areas of revenue payment Diwan Amir Kohi to bring uncultivated land into cultivation through state support. Diwani Ariz. This department was set up to look after the military organization of the empire. It was headed by Arjis Mubalik. He was responsible for the administration of military affairs. He maintained a royal contingent, recruited the scalded, ensured the discipline and forms of the army, inspected the troops maintained by the equate holder, explained the horses and branded them with the royal insignia during times of war. The Arij arranged military provisional transportation and administration. The army at war provided constant supplies and was the custodian of war. Badi Alauddin Khilji introduced the system of Da and Hulia description and cash payment to the soldiers in order to strengthen his control over the army. The contingent station at Dali was called Hasham-e and provisional contingent were called Hasham-e-Akat. Provincial administration and Equata system. The administration in the area that were outside the core political area was carried out in a number of ways. It depended on degree of political control which was exercised over the year. The the territory the territorial expansion and consolidation of the Sultan was a process which continued throughout the 13th and 14th century. Some of the newly conquered area were brought directly under the control of the Sultan and some other areas remained semi-autonomous. Thus, different control mechanism, some other remained semi-autonomous. Thus, different control mechanisms were adopted by the Sultan of for these areas in the area that were loosely affiliated to the presence affiliated to the Sultan. A few officials were appointed by the central as a symbol of imperial presence, but everyday administration remained in our local hands. The interest of the center in this area was mostly economic, the collation of the revenue. The provinces were placed under the charge of governor who was responsible for the overall administration of the area. They involved ensuring the collection of revenue, maintaining law and order, and keeping rebellious elements under control. He was deputy the Sultan in his area since the officials were frequently transformed and not familiar with the area. They were generally dependent on a local official to perform their duties. The collection of the revenue was not possible without the help of the local official. Thus, the governor and the local power blocks worked in close association with each other. At times, the combination created problems for the Sultan as the governor used to become powerful with the help provided by the local rulers and rise in rebellions against the Sultan. During the 14th century, were administered by the Siddhar. Subsequently, the Sikhs got transformed into Sarkar during the Afghan period. Fauzdar was another officer along with Siktar at the provincial level. Their duties are not clearly articulated, and often the rule of law and order and provided um, military assistance. He also supervised the functioning of the smaller administrative units. The duty of the Fauzdar was similar to the Siddhar. The Kotwals were placed under the Fauzdar. The other important officers at the provincial level were Barit's intelligence officer and reporter and Diwan, who maintained two financial accounts of the provincial income and expenditure. Quetta system. The institution of the Equata had been in force in early Islam world as a form of reward for services to the state. In Khalifa administration, it was used to pay civil and military officers. After the establishment of the Sultan, equine system was introduced by the Sultan to begin with with the army commander, and nobles were given territory to administer and collect the revenue. The territory thus assigned were called Quetta and holder of Quettar or Mukri. In essence, this was a system of payment to the officer and maintained of army by them. Gradually, rulers and regulation were laid down to organize the whole system. Further, through the years, it became the main instrument of administrating the sultan. Further, of sultan could get a large share of the surplus production from different parts of the vast territories through this system. From the 14th century, we hear of Walis or Mukit, who are commander of military administration administrative tracts called Quetta. Their exact power varied according to circumstances. In due course, the Mukiti was given complete the charge of the administration of the Quetta, which include the task of maintaining an army. The Mukti was to help the Sultan with his army in case of need. He was expected maintain the army and meet his own expenses with the revenue collected from the time of Balban. The Mukti was expected to send the balance forwards of the income. Their expect power varied according to circumstances. In due course of Mukti was given complete charge of administration of the Quetta, which included the task of maintaining army. The Mukti was to help the Sultan with his army in case of need. He was expected to maintain the army and meet his own expenses with the revenue collected from the time Balban. Uh, the Mukti was expected to send balance fossil of the income to the center after meeting his and the army expenses. This means that the central revenue department had made an assessment of the expected income of Quetta, the cost of the maintenance of the army, and the Mukti on expenses. This process became even more strict during the time Alauddin Khilji as the central control grew. The control over Mukti administration also increased. The Khwaja, probably same as Sahib-e-Diwan, was appointed to keep a record of income of the Quetta. It was Sahib-e-Diwal was appointed to keep a record of the income of the Quetta. It was on the basis of this record that the Sultan used to make his revenue demands. A buried or intelligence officer also local administration. The village was the smallest unit of administration. The functioning and administration of the village remained more or less the same it had existed in pre-Turkish time. The main village functionaries were Qut uh, Mukaddam and Patwari. They worked in close coordination uh, with the Mukti in the collection of revenue and it maintaining law and order, etc. A nation with the Mukti number of villages form the Pargana. The important Pargana official were Chaudhary, uh, Amil revenue collector, and Karkun accountant village and Pargan were independent units of administration, and yet there were uh, interrelated interrelated area. In certain cases provincials had a local ruler, Rai, Rana, Rawat, Raja, who helped the governor in duties. In such case the local ruler were recognized as subordinates of the sultan. Market reform of Alauddin Khilji. The reform of Alauddin Khilji were oriented towards administration and uh, military necessity. Medieval rulers believed that necessity of life, especially food gains, should be available to the city folk at the reasonable price. But few rulers had been able to control the price for any length of time. Alauddin Khilji was were or less the first ruler who looked at the problem of price control in a systematic manner and was to maintain stable price for considerable period. It has been pointed out the Alauddin Khilji instructed the market control because after the Mongol series of Delhi, he wanted to recruit a large army. All this treasure would have soon exhausted if he was to spend huge resources on army with low price. The Sultan could recruit a large army with low expenses. Whatever may be reason for the market reform, elaborate administration arrangements were made to ensure that the market control was followed strictly. Alauddin fixed the price of all commodity from the grain to cloth, slabs, cattle, etc. He also set up three markets at Delhi, at the first for food grains, the second for the cloth of all kinds for expensive items such as sugar, ghee, oil, dry fruits, etc., and the third for the horses, slabs, and cattle for controlling the food prices, its transportation to the city of the gain merchant, but also its plural distribution to the citizen. A number of measures were taken to see that prices laid down by the Sultan were strictly observed, and official Sihina was in charge of the market or to see no one violates the rule orders. Burieds, intelligence officers, and Munian secret spies were also appointed. Alauddin also tried to ensure that there were sufficient stocks of food grains with the government so that the traders didn't hike up prices of creating an artificially scarcity or induce in profiteering. Granaries were set up in Delhi um, and Chain Rajasthan, the Banjaras or Karwanian who transported the food grains from the countryside of the city were asked to some themselves in body. They were to settled on bank of Yamuna with their family and official. Sena was appointed to oversee them to ensure the regular supply of food grains to Banjara. At number of regulations were made. All the food grains were to brought to the market, mandis, and sold only at official prices. The second market for cloth, dry fruits, ghee, etc., was called Surai-e-Adil. All the cloths brought from different parts of the country and also from outside were to be stored and sold only in the market at government trades. It to ensure an adequate supply of all commodity. All merchants were registered and did taken from them. They would bring the specified qualities of commodities to the Sharai every year. The merchant who brought a commodity the condition that they would not sell to any intermediary in case of costly commodities, and officer was to issue permits to armies, maliks, etc. for the purchase for the expensive commodity in accordance with the income. This chase of these expensive commodities to accordance with their income. This was done to prevent any black marketing of this expensive product. The third market dealt with horses, cattle, and slave. The supply of horses of good quality at fair prices was important for the army. Alauddin did away with the middleman or Dalal who had become very powerful. It was decided that the government and of cattle were also fixed, but this reform didn't last long, and after the death of Alauddin, this reform got lost. Administrative structure under the Mughals. The Mughals retained many features of the administrative system of the Sultan and Sher Shah. Under the Sher Shah, or the administrative units of Pargana, a group of villages, Sarkar, a group of Pargana, and a group of Sarkar, some word like Shubhas or province were placed under specific officers offices. The Mughals formalized a new territorial unit called the Subha. Institutions of Jagir and Manshav system were also introduced by the Mughals. Thus, change and continuity both market the Mughal administrative structure, which brought about a high degree of centralization in the system. Central administration. The emperor. The emperor was the supreme head of administration and control all military and judicial power. All officers in Mughal administration on their power and position to the empire. The empire had authority to appoint, to promote, and remove official at his pleasure. There was no pressure institutions or otherwise on the emperor for smooth functioning of the empire. A few departments were created, Wakil and Wazir. The institution of Wizarat or Vikalar, since both were used interchangeably, was present in some from during the Delhi Sultan also. The position of Wazir had lost its preeminent position during the period of Afghan rulers in the Delhi Sultan. The position of the Wazir was revived under the Mughal Babur and Humayun. Wazir enjoyed great power. The period during which Baram Khan 1556 to 60 was regent of Akbar Shah. The rise of Wakil Wazir with unlimited power, Akbar in the determination to curb the power of Wazir, later on took away the financial power from him. This was a big jolt to Wazir power. Diwani Kul. Diwani Kul was the great chief Diwan. He was responsible for revenue and finances. Akbar had strengthened the office of Diwan by instructing the revenue power to the Diwan. The Diwan used to inspect all transaction and payments in all department and surprised the provincial Diwans. The entire revenue collection and expenditure of the empire was under his charge. The Diwan were to report about state finance to the emperor on daily basis. Mir Bakshi. Mir Bakshi looked after all matters pertaining to the military administration. The order of appointment of Mansabdar and their salary papers were endorsed and passed him. He kept a strict watch over a proper maintain of the section size of arm or continued the war in equivalent by the Mansabdar. The few entire Sikh into services were presented to the empire by the Mir Bakshi. Uh, Sadar us Sudar. The Sadar us Sudar was the head of Ecclesiastes department. His chief duty was to protect the law of Shariat. The office of the Sadar used to distribute allowances um, and stipends to the eligible person and religion institution. It made this office very lucrative during the first 25 years of Akbar resign. The promulgation of Mahzar in 1580 resisted his authority. According to Mazar, Akbar's view was to prevail in case of conflicting views among religion scholars. The officer also regulate the matter of revenue, free grants given for religion and charitable purposes. Later, several restrictions were placed on the authority of the Sadr War for award of revenue free grants also. Muttaf Shabir, a censor of public morals, were appointed to ensure the general observance of the ruler of morality. He also used to examine weights and measure and enforce enforce fair prices, etc. Mir Saman. The Mir Saman was the official in charge of the royal karkhanas. He was responsible for all kinds of purchase and the stories were all for the royal household. He wanted to supervise the manufacturing of different articles for the use of royal household. Provisional administration. The Mughal Empire was divided into 12 provinces or subas by Akbar. These were Allahabad, Agra, Awadh, Ajmer, Ahmedabad, Bihar, Bengal, Delhi, Kabul, Lahore, Malwa, and and Multan. Later on, Ahmedabad, Behrar, and Khandesh were added with the expansion of Mughal Empire. The number of provinces increased to 20. Each suba was placed under a subedar or a provincial governor who was directly appointed by the emperor. The subedar who Subedar was head of the province and responsible for maintenance of general law and order. He was to encourage agriculture, trade and commerce and take steps enhance the revenue of the state. He was also super rebellion and provide an army of expeditions. The head of the revenue department in the Suba was the Diwan. He was appointed by the emperor and was an independent officer. He was to supervise the revenue collection in the Suba and maintain accounts of all expenditure. He was also expected to increase area under the cultivation. In many cases, advances, loans, the Kwabi were given to peasants through his office. The Bakshi in the provinces performed the same function as were performed by Mir Bakshi at the center. He was appointed by imperial court at the recommendations of the Mir Bakshi. He was responsible for checking and inspecting the horses and soldiers maintained by the Manshabdar in the Suba. He issued the pay bills of both the Manbaksh and the soldier. Often his office was combined with Waqif. In this capacity, his duty was to inform the center about the happening in the province. The representative of central Sudar at provincial level was called Sadar. He was responsible for the welfare of those who were engaged in religion activities and learning. He also looked after the judicial department and in that capacity supervised the works of the Quasi. There were some other officers also who were appointed at the provisional level. Darogai Dak was responsible for maintaining the communications channel. He used to pass all letters to court through the postal runners. Mirwais Vakyan and Vakyan were appointed to provide report directly to emperor. Local uh, local administration. The provincial or subas were divided into sarkars. The sarkar were divided into parganas. Parganas. The villages was the smallest unit of administration. At the level of Sarkar, there were two important functionaries, the Fauzdar and the Amal Guzar. The Fauzdar was appointed by imperial order. Sometimes within a Sarkar, a number of Fauzdar existed. At times, their, their jurisdiction spread over into two Sarkar, even if these belonged to two different Subas. Fauzdar was an administrative division where Sarkar was a territorial and revenue division. The primary duty of the Fauzdar was to safeguard the life and property of the resident of the area under his jurisdiction. He wants to take care of law and order problem in his area and exist in the timely collection of revenue whenever force was required. The Amal Guzar or Amil was the revenue collector. His duty was assist and supervise the revenue collection. He was expected to increase the land under cultivation and induce the peasant to pay revenue willingly. He used to maintain all accounts and send the daily receipt and expenditure report to provincial divan. At the level of Pragana, the Sikidar was the execute officer. He existed the Amils in the task revenue collection. Amils looked after the revenue collection at the Pargana level. The Koenungo kept all the records of land in the Pargana. The Kotwals were appointed mainly in towns by imperial government and were in charge law and order. He was to maintain a register for keeping record of people coming and going out of towns. The the Mukaddam was the village head man and and the Patwari looked after the village revenue record. The service of the Jamindar was utilized for the maintenance of law and order in their area as well as collection of revenue. The force were placed under an officer called Kwalidar. He was he was in charge of the general administration of the fort and the area assigned in Jagir to him. The port administration was independent of the provincial authority. The governor of the port was called Muttashadi, who was directly appointed by the emperor. The Muttashadi collected taxes on merchandise and maintained a custom house. He also surprised the mini house at the port. Mughal administration institution, Mansab system. The Mansab and Jagir system under the Mughals in India evolved through the time system. Through the time, Mansabdar was unique system devised by the Mughals in India. The Mansabdari system evolved by Akbar with certain changes and modification was the basis of civil and military administration under the Mughals. The word mansab means a place or position. The mansab awarded to an individual fixed both his status in his official hierarchy and also his salary. It also fixed the number of armed retainer the holder of mansab was to maintain. The system was formulated to streamline rank of the nobles, fix their salary, and specify the number of cavalry to be maintained by them. Under the Mansab system, ranks were expressed in numeral terms. Abul Fazl stated that Akbar had established 66 grades of Mansabdars ranging from commander of 10 horsemen to 10,000 horsemen, although only 33 grades have been maintained by him. Initially, a single number represented the rank, personal pay, and size of contingent of the Mansabdar. Later, the rank of Mansabdar came to denoted by two numbers, Jat and Savar. The Jat denoted personal rank of official, and the Savar indicating the size of contingent maintained by the Mansabdars. Depending on the state of contingent, Mansabdars were placed in three categories. Let us take an example of Mansabdar who had a rank 7,000 Jat and 7,000 Savar. 7,000 upon 7,000. In the first Jat, and Savar rank were equal. 700 upon 700. In the second, Savar rank was lower than the Jat but stopped at half or 50% of Jat rank, 7,000 upon 4,000. In third, Sarwar rank was lower than 50% of Jat rank, 7,000 upon 3,000. Thus the Sawar rank was either equal or less than the Jat. Even if Sawar rank was higher, the Mansabdar position in the official hierarchy would not be affected. It will be decided by the Jat rank. For example, a Mansabdar with 4,000 Jat and 200 2,000 Sawar was higher in the rank than a Mansabdar of 3,000 Jat and 3,000 Sawar. But there were exceptions to this rule, particularly when the Mansabdar was serving in a difficult terrain amidst the rebels. In such cases, this state often increased the Sawar rank without alerting the Jat rank. Sometimes Sawar rank was also increased for a temporary period to meet emergency situation. Jahangir introduced a new provisional in the Sawar rank. According to it, part of Sawar rank was termed Do Aspa, Shah Aspa. In case of select Mansabdar for his part, additional payment at the same rate, 8,000 dams per Sawar was sanitations. Thus, it was Sawar rank was 4,000, out of which 1,000 was the Do Ashpa Shah Aspa. Salary for this Sawar was calculated as 3,000 into 4,000 plus 1,000 into 8,000 into 2 is equal to 4 uh, is equal to 4,000 40 lakh 40 lakh 40 lakh thousand dams without do aspa Shilpa Aspa. Salary for the 4,000 Savar would have stood at 4,000 into 8,000 is equal to 32 lakh 32 lakh thousand dams. Thus, the Mansabdar was to maintain double number of detected this provisional to promote um, nobles of his confidence and strength the military by this provisional he could increase the military strength of his nobles without effecting any change in their Jat rank. Any increase in their Jat rank would not only have lead to jealousy among other nobles but also an additional burden on the tertiary. Uh, Shah Jahan introduced the month scale in the Mansabdari system to compensate the gap between Jama estimated income and Hasil actual realization. The Mansabdar were generally paid through revenue assessment Jagir. The biggest problem was that calculation was made on the basis of the expected income Jama from the Jagir during 1 year. It was noticed that the actual revenue collection has it always feel a sort of estimated income. In such a situation, the Mansabdar salary were fixed by method called month scale. Thus, if Jagir yielded only half of the Jama, called it was called month scale. Thus, if Jagir yielding only half of Jama, it was called uh, Sakshima 6 monthly. It if it yielded only one fourth, it was called Shimaha 3 monthly. The month scale was applied to cash salary also. There were deduction from the succession pay also. During the resign of Shahjahan, the Mansabdar were allowed to maintain 1 upon fifth to 1 upon three of the succession strength of the Sawar rank without any accompanying reduction in their claim on maintained amount for their Sawar rank. Aurangzeb continued with all these changes and created an additional rank called uh, Masu- Mashurat conditional. This was an attempt to increase the Sawar rank of the Mansab. Temporarily, Aurangzeb added one another deduction also Dawab towards meeting the cost of for field of animals in imperial stables Jagir system. The system assessment of revenue of a particular territory to the nobles for their services to the state continue under the Mughal also. Under the Mughal for three assigned were generally called Jagir and its holder Jagir. The Jagir system was an integral part of the Mansabdari system was developed under Akbar and underwent certain changes during the reign of his successor. During the Akbar period, all the territory was broadly divided into two Khali, Khalisha and Jagir. The revenue from the first went to imperial treasury and that from Jagir was assigned to Jagir in lieu of their cash Shawar rank. The salary was paid either in cash. In that case, they were also Nakwedi or through the assessment of a Jagir, the latter being the preferable mode in case the payment was made through the assignment of a Jagir. The office of the Central Diwan would identify Parganas, the sum of total whose Jama was equal to the salary claim of the required to deposit the balance with the central treasury. On the other hand, if was less than salary claim, the shortfall was paid from the treasury. Uh, However, none of assessment was permanent or hereditary. The emperor could shift part of the entire Jagir from one part of the imperial territory to another at any shift part of the entire Jagir from one part of the imperial territory to another at any time. The ratio between Jagir and Khalisha kept fluctuating during the Mughal rule. 10% under Shah Jahan. It fluctuated between 9 to 50% and 15% in the latter part of Aurangzeb resigned. There was a great pressure on the Khalisha as the number of claimants for Jagir increased. With the increase in the number of Mansabdar, the Jagir were also transformed from one Jagir to another, but In certain cases, they were allowed to keep their Jagir in one's locality for longer period of time. The system of transfer checked the Jagir from developing local routes. At the same time, its disadvantage was that it discouraged the Jagir from taking long-term measures for the development of their area. There were various types of Jagir. Tan- uh, Tanka Tankha Jagirs were given in lieu of salary. Mashurat Jagirs were given on certain condition. Watan Jagir were assigned to Jamindar or Rajas in their local domination. Altumga Jagir were given to Muslim nobles in their family towns or place of birth. Tanka Jagir were transferable every 3 to 4 years. Watan Jagir were hereditary and non-transferable. When Jamindar was made a Mansabdar, he was given Tankha Jagir apart from his Watan Jagir at another another place if the salary of his rank was more than the income from the Watan Jagir. The Jagir were allowed to collect only authorized revenue in accordance with the imperial regulation. The Jagir implied their own official like Amil etc. The imperial office kept which on Jagir the Diwan or Shuva was supposed to prevent the operation of the peasant while the Jagir army was posted in each Suva to see that Jagir was following imperial regulation. Fauzdar all used to help the Jagir if they faced any difficulty in the collection of revenue. Administrative structure under the Marathas. The rise of the Maratha power was significant phenomena in the history of Deccan. The administration system of the Maratha was very much influenced by the administrative system of the Mughal and Deccan state. Central administration. The king was the helm the affair. The administration was divided into 8 departments headed by minister who are sometimes called Asta Pradhan. The eight ministers were Peshwar who looked after the finance and general administration. Second is Sir E. Nobat, who was the Senapati. Third is Majumdar, household affairs. Five Surnavis of Chittans looked after official correspondence. Six is Dabir, looked after foreign affair. Seventh is Nyasdis, looked after justice. And eighth is Pandit Rao, looked after assiliated affairs. The Asta Pradhan was not a creation of Shivaji. Many of these officers like Peshwa, Majumdar, Baki, Nabils, Dabir and Sarnavis had existed under the Dakkani ruler. Also, all the member of the Asta Pradhan except Pandit Rao and Nauddin were asked to lead military campaign under Shivaji. These officers were neither hereditary nor permanent. They held the office at the pleasure of the king. They were they were also frequent transform. Each of the Asta Pradhan was assisted by eight assistant frequently transport. Each of the Asta Pradhan was assisted by the 8 assistant Diwan Majumdar of Fadnis, Sadnis, Khadnis, Chitnis, Jamandar and Portrains. Chintans dealt with all diplomatic correspondence and wrote all royal letter. The Fadnis used to respond to letter commander of commander of the forts. The point look after the income and expenditure of the royal reality. Provincial and local administration. The provincial administration was also organized on the Dakkani and Mughal system. All the provincial units were already existing under the Dakkani ruler Shivaji recognized and in certain cases renamed them. The provinces were known as prants. The prants were under the charge of Subedar over a number of Subedar. There were Saruveshdar to control and supervise the work of Subedar. Smaller than Prant were Tarfas, which were headed by a Havaldar. Then there were Majumdar or villages, which were the lower the lowest unit of administration at the level of village. Uh, Khulkhani used to keep um, accounts of maintained record, while uh, Patil had legal and policing power at the level of Pargana. Pargana Deshpali used to keep account and maintain record, while Deshmukh had legal and policing power, and the police officer in rural area was called Fauzdar, and in urban area was called Kotwal. The Maratha polity didn't have unified civil military rank under the Marathas. Performance-based Brahmin elites managed the central bureaucracy and local administration. In this capacity, they were called Kamishvidar, who enjoyed wider power of assessment and collection. They adjudicated cases, provided information about local condition, and kept record. Later on, the British district collector was modulated on the Maratha officer only. What you have learned that this establishment you have learned that with the establishment of Delhi Sultan, new ruling class and some new administration institution emerged. The administration institution were to mix origin Arab and Central Asia origin and the Indian origin. During the Mughal period, some of the institution of the Sultan period underwent some changes and some new were created. The administration system and institution contributed in the consolidation of the Sultan and Mughal Empire. The administration system was also utilized by the ruler to some and Mughal Empire. The administration system was also utilized by the ruler to the create social harmony in the society. This was done by including more and more section of the society in the administration apparatus due to large extent of the empire. Uh, the 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 administrative system emerged at three levels: central, provisional, and local. The local level administration was left mainly in the hands of village headmen etc. And provincial level, the administration was carried out the institution of Kota during the Sultan period and through the institution of Mansab and Jagir during the Mughal period. At the central level, the Sultan or the emperor had his own system of administration, and there were many officers to exist him. There were also various departments to look after certain many officers to exist him. There were also various departments to look after certain functions. The rulers at times were challenged by the nobility and the ulema who tried to exert pressure on them. The administration system and institution function uh, well under strong and capable ruler, but the same were under pressure under weak ruler. The Maratha administration system developed along the lines of the Mughal and Dakkani states.